Welcome to This Week in Missouri Politics. Legislative session is actually starting to heat up, and we are joined by a senator that's at the heart of it all, freshman state senator from Southern Missouri, Brad Hudson. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me on. It's good to be here.
Let's start talking about the campaign. You ran a very competitive campaign all throughout. District goes from Stone County over
to Shannon County. So,
Nice.
Yeah, we got Branson, West Plains, Table Rock Lake area.
You could make an argument for the most beautiful district in the state. I think going through there.
It is beautiful. Yeah, it is beautiful. And some of the best people you will meet in the entire world are right there in District 33.
Give the shirt off their back, but if you try to take it, you got a problem, right?
That's right. That's it. You got it.
So tell me about the campaign. How you got here?
Well, it was a lot of hard work and the help of the good Lord and a lot of good people. We knew that we were going to be outspent. We were outspent probably about 3-1 or so, I would say, include everything. But we got out there. We felt like we had the winning message. Now, we had a formidable opponent, but we hit those doors. It was doors, going to events, talking to people.
You even won in spite of support from Robert Ross. Who'd have thought,
We did. We were able to win in spite of that. No, we're grateful for former Representative Ross and his support. He's a good friend, so.
So tell me about the Senate. You've sat over there for a few years in the House and got to watch these people, these Republicans, yell at each other and accomplish some things, but maybe not all you could have accomplished. I definitely think some things have been left on the table because of all the fighting. You come over and it just feels like from the peanut gallery, you're in a little bit different body than you had to have watched the last 4 or 5 years.
Oh, absolutely. No question about it. I mean, it is a new day in the Missouri Senate. We are functioning. And I'm taking credit for all that, by the way. I had to come over to make things right. No,
it was blowing up. You came. It's better. I'd take credit too.
Do the math. No, but I am grateful to be a part of the Missouri Senate right now, and I am getting in at a good time. And we are, like I said, we're functioning. We're working on some good stuff. I'm excited. We already got bills on the floor. We're perfecting stuff. So it's good. That's good.
So the big bill coming out of what Governor Kehoe talked about was local control of St. Louis Police Department.
Yeah.
He wants to take on crime in St. Louis. I don't think we like to admit it, but frankly, if there's a road built in southern Missouri, St. Louis probably pays for part of it. If there's free cheese given out, they probably slice or two's paid for by St. Louis. I do think it really would impact the part of the state we're from if St. Louis crime got under control. My question to you is that an attainable goal?
I think it is. I think it is when you've got Governor Kehoe behind it like you do. I think you're going to see movement on that. We cannot ignore what's happening in St. Louis. It affects the entire state.
They're Missourians too.
We got a problem up there. It is St. Louis crime is world famous. They're talking about St. Louis crime all over the world, and that is affecting everything from economic development, our tax base, and a lot of other things as well. So I think that is definitely doable.
So do you believe the Missouri Senate will pass a local control bill?
Yes, I believe we will.
Let me ask you this. The history of this state, going back to Thomas Hart Benton, has been the entire state versus St. Louis. If you, led by Governor Kehoe, led by your caucus in the state Senate, if you go take that police department, and it's yours now, this concept is yours, do you think it's incumbent for some of us who maybe are a little critical of our friends in St. Louis from time to time to take a different posture and try to accentuate some of the positives of St. Louis, which there are many? I do think the party, if you break it, you buy it. If Governor Kehoe leads, are others going to come in and maybe have a different tone about St. Louis going forward?
I think it is past time that we all work together as a team. Missouri and Missourians, we need to work together. We need to understand that what affects St. Louis affects the entire state, and the health of the entire state means something to all of us. And so I think if we do get this done and we go down this road, which I think we will, I think you are definitely going to see a different tone coming from some folks. And I'm optimistic that you're going to see a better Missouri because of it.
I think it's, to me, crime is a little bit of a perception. My perception is not that Kansas City is dangerous. Now, maybe stats and all that. I don't know stats. My perception is St. Louis is dangerous. Now, I'm open to being wrong, but I think that perception is shared by a lot of Missourians. And I think, crime where economic development is concerned and economic activity, I think it's a lot of perception.
Yeah. Well, and perception matters, right? I
Yes.
mean, we understand in politics, perception matters. You have to feel safe. You want people to feel safe, because if they do not feel safe visiting your neighborhood, visiting your state, they're not going to come. They're going to take their family somewhere they can feel safe. So, I think that can go a long way with regard to perception as well.
To me, wherever I hear fiddle music, I feel safe. Tell me, there's a very famous fiddle in your family.
There is, yes. So my grandfather was the first game warden in our neck of the woods down in Stone County. He was
And
one
he
of the
lived to
first.
tell about it.
Yes, and I tell you what, you come down there, you tell us how many fish we can catch, how many deer we can kill. That's a good way to get in trouble with some of us hillbillies. But now he won folks over because he treated everybody fairly. It didn't matter what your last name was, didn't matter how much money you made. He also could play the fiddle. And he actually worked to get the fiddle to become our state instrument in Missouri. He was involved in that when John Ashcroft was governor. And so his fiddle now is in the Secretary of State's building. It is in a case that my other grandfather built. So a lot of family history there. And I get to tease Secretary Hoskins every time I see him.
Make sure he didn't break it or something.
Yeah, better take care of Grandpa's fiddle. Yeah, I hope he's not out playing it somewhere.
Yeah, that wouldn't be great. I know Denny well. Fiddle player's never been on the agenda. That's a great story, though. It is funny how you get it's a family legacy of service like that. Yeah. I mean, how is your grandfather still alive?
No.
Imagine how proud he'd be though to see you in the state senate.
Oh yeah, he
down the street.
He would have loved it. I mean, he was kicking around the idea of running for sheriff of Stone County way back in the day. Never got that far before the cancer got him. But no, both men, my grandpa Bob Walsh and my grandpa Alvy, who built the case, Alvy Hudson, they're both gone now. But they both had just a major impact on my life, and it's really neat every time I go in that building to file for office to be able to see that.
Yeah, that is cool. Let's talk about an issue I know is something you've talked about many times. Missouri went from having no abortions to probably the most pro-abortion jurisdiction on the planet. There's a lot of things that went into that, but I'm seeing a difference in the pro-life community, in the pro-life movement. Sometimes, sitting in the peanut gallery, it looked like the only thing that some of the pro-life folks hated more than abortion was other pro-life people. I feel like almost people have been like shocked back into reality that everybody's in this together. I've seen people get aggressive on the judicial ballot language. I mean, that ballot language in Amendment 3 was the most left-wing ballot language you'd ever find, written by the most left-wing judge east of Kansas City or west of St. Louis.
Pro-abortion talking points.
He just took whatever the pro-abortion folks wanted and wrote it. But I found it interesting. We all hear about how bad the Missouri plan is, right? How produce liberal judges. Well, Chris Limbaugh was appointed by Governor Parson, and the system pretty much like the Missouri plan. He kicked it off the ballot. Judge Walker, who was elected, put all the left-wing stuff he could find in there. I find a difference, an aggressiveness, but like a united front. Maybe it's tenacity. Maybe it's not aggression. It's tenacity. I feel like there's a working together spirit and maybe some tenacity developing in the pro-life cause.
Well, we lost a tough battle. And Scott, everybody that knows me knows I'm pro-life, very pro-life. It's something I believe in. I don't just campaign on it. I believe it. I've been involved in pro-life causes for longer than I've been in the legislature. When you lose a tough battle like that, it's time to take a look in the mirror. Okay, what could we have done better? Because we may have lost, but we just barely lost. Yeah. Especially when you consider what we were outspent, like, what was it, like 10-1 or something like that? I mean, there was a huge difference.
The margin of defeat, does that help your cause when you say we should go back to the citizens of the state and put something else before them to see if they want it? I think if it had been a 20-point loss, I think that case is harder to make than a 3-point loss.
You're absolutely right. It's much tougher to make that case with a 20-point loss. But when you see that it's that close, and you see the disparity between the money that was spent, and also a lot of the misinformation was out there. There were a lot of people that were voting on Amendment 3 because of those pro-abortion talking points. They had an idea in their mind that they were voting on something that wasn't really what they were voting on. Absolutely, you can make the case, a good case, we need to go back before the voters and give them another shot at this.
To me, I've got an internal way. I've interviewed a lot of folks. I have a respect if you have a difference of opinion. If you call abortion, you're probably pro-life. If you call it reproductive freedom, health care, whatever that ballot language was, I pretty much know where you don't have to tell me anything else. I know your perspective. I get where you're coming from. I do think, though, it's going to have to be more than the HJR. The pro-choice folks are very aggressive. They have no problem making sure the deck is stacked in every way for them. Do you think it's time to dig in and I think the difference with aggressive, which almost seems negative, and tenacious, which I think seems positive, is you stack that deck every possible way you can. I think it's going to be more than the HGR. I think it's going to be working together. I think there's going to be some statutorial fixes. This ballot language mess, you're going to have to fix the Cole County judiciary. You've got a raging left-winger there. You can change that if you want to. Is it time to do everything to be pro-life?
All of the above. Yes, all hands on deck doing all of the above. We've got to reform in multiple areas in order to make sure that the pro-life cause gets back to where we need to be in Missouri. Because right now, with that incredibly liberal language that we have in our Constitution, that is not an accurate reflection of where Missourians are. Certainly not an accurate reflection of where my constituents are.
Let me ask you this. If I was willing to bet, if we went down 142, I bet you the former law would have had majority support. But you get north and other parts of the state. I don't think I don't think our average Missourian was where the law was. I think they were a little more pro-choice or wanted a little bit more wiggle room in that law than what existed. Am I wrong?
I wouldn't argue with that. Now, I would say in my district, we were where the law was. I would say that in my district.
But overall, throughout the state.
But overall, when you go in other parts of the state, certainly in more urban areas, the law was probably a little too far to the right as far as they were concerned. I was happy with where it was, but I don't think they were. But where we are now, I don't believe they're there. I mean,
I agree with you.
I think.
Let's go out and take Defiance. Let's go to Jeffco, look at Crystal City, right? I think that the folks there might not have been where the law was, but I actually don't think they're where the law is now.
No, they're not. I mean, this is not. We sent a Republican supermajority of legislators to Jefferson City once again. Once again, the citizens of Missouri elected a legislature that campaigned as pro-life candidates. So you can't discount that. That means something.
I think maybe the proof in the concept we're just discussing is there's a lot of folks that went to vote in Chesterfield, and they voted for Amendment 3, and they voted Republican David Gregory to be their state senator over independence. A lot of folks voted for Amendment 3, but they also voted for Republican Joe Nicola. Those two swing districts you won, and you won by, frankly, comfortable margins against very strong Democratic candidates. I mean, these were not just seat fillers.
Right.
Those were top-tier candidates that the Republicans beat. I think you can't discount the fact there's a supermajority of this state that has voted pro-life.
Yeah, and I would contend that those folks that voted for our Republican candidates and also voted for Amendment 3, they're certainly their heart is not where Amendment 3 is. I would contend that many of them, because of those pro-abortion talking points, because of the misinformation that was out there, they felt like they had to vote yes on that amendment in order for women to get the proper health care, which was not necessary.
Well, if you didn't know anything about it, you just read the ballot language, it was leading you to vote yes. No question.
Yeah. Absolutely.
End of the day, are you going to be willing to support something going to the ballot that has some exceptions?
I'm willing to take a look at that. I mean, I want to save all the lives that I can.
That's the only way out of our current situation.
I understand that, for example, the SJR that I've introduced that would add a personhood amendment to Missouri's Constitution. I understand maybe that's a little too far to the right for some folks, but I've also co-sponsored SJR 33. Senator Schnelting's working on that one. It does have some exceptions in it, some tight exceptions in that. I'm willing to support that. I'm a co-sponsor of it. We got to do all that we can to save as many lives as we can.
All the above. I like it. Senator Brad Hudson, thank you so much for the time. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I've enjoyed it.
We'll be right back with the most quotable man in the Missouri Republican Party. Jim Murphy joins us after this.
For more than a century, the St. Louis Carpenters Union has shaped our communities. Through trusted alliances, we deliver skilled professional craftspeople while our business partners provide the kind of quality jobs that keep our economy humming. It's a blueprint that has worked since 1882. Turning Missouri into a right-to-work state stalls progress, wipes out jobs, and kills momentum. Right to work is wrong for everyone. Let's keep Missouri moving forward. Visit carpdc.org to learn more.
Missouri farmers have been doing what's best for their land for generations. After all, no one knows what it takes to feed and fuel a growing global population better than they do. So why are trial lawyers threatening Missouri farmers' best defense against weeds? Our farmers don't need to be controlled. They need to be supported. Keep glyphosate in our state. Show your support at TakeControlMissouri.com. Paid for by Modern Ag Alliance in support of Missouri farmers.
Missouri's childcare crisis is hurting our children, families, and even our economy. Currently, 78 Missouri counties are designated as childcare deserts, where the number of kids needing childcare exceeds the number of available options. Today, some Missouri families are spending more on childcare than housing, and Missouri's childcare shortage costs our economy $1.35 billion every year. Missouri families and businesses deserve better. Learn more at mochampionofchildren.com.
Data captured by our state-of-the-art monitors helps us pinpoint the timing and location of severe weather more accurately and respond to trouble more quickly. Ameren, Missouri's investment in smart technologies like this is one way we're improving reliability and restoring power faster than ever. Responding to trouble before trouble hits. That's energy at work. Ameren, Missouri.
Welcome back. This week in Missouri Politics, Opinion Maker panel time with a very busy legislative week. Representative LaKeySha Bosley from St. Louis. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Scott. Always a pleasure.
For the first time from Springfield, Representative Stephanie Hein. Thank you so much for making the time.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Also from Springfield, Melanie Stinnett. And the most quotable man in the Missouri Republican Party, Jim Murphy. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me back.
State's coming to take over your police department.
Well, they're going to take over the city police department.
Only in St. Louis do they think St. Louis, if it's St. Louis. It's all St. Louis.
And there's a representative from the city that always corrects us if we don't. So we make sure we do that. So
wait, I mean, but seriously, it comes down to, I think that we've had local control for about 15 years in the city of St. Louis. I think you can make an argument it's average, but I don't think anybody can say things are going stellar. Nobody can say things are going great. That's the best argument. It's not the argument to keep local control. It's not that even the biggest supporters of local control can't say crime is great.
This first of all, it's still going to be local because the board is always going to be local people. We've heard all the arguments. Is this going to stop the murder rate? Is this going to stop crime on the street? It might. It has a chance. And it only has a chance not because this board is going to be this most fantastic do-all. It's going to tell everybody what's going to happen and the crime rate's going to go down. But what is going to happen, and it's almost going to happen day one, is that the morale of the police department and their feeling that they can do their job and that people have their back and they're not going to be afraid to confront criminals and arrest criminals because they're going to think that now somebody's going to let me do my job. I think that will make a difference, and it may not be a huge difference, but I'm going to tell you, when it comes to recruiting, if they don't think you have your back, you don't recruit people, and we need more cops.
I think that's probably the most accurate expectation setting I've seen. Representative Bosley, I mean, what about that? I do think it helps, but I think anybody that says this is the answer to the problem, I don't know about that.
I mean, it's not the answer to the problem. And if we're talking about the morale of the police department, look at what Chief Tracy has done with the police department. If we're talking about recruitment, look at what Chief Tracy has done with recruitment.
Pretty impressive, I'll say.
And you are now taking away his ability to continue to do the things that he has been doing and implementing for less than 2 years. He came and he asked us for time last year, and he's given us stellar results. He has.
You think stellar?
I think stellar.
I think when Representative Murphy says, look, don't think this is the cure-all to this. It might help in these areas.
I mean, that was
you
the
think
same
the results are stellar?
The results have absolutely been stellar. We have had the police department increase their salary in 2 years 3 times. They just got another 7% increase to their salaries across the board for every officer. So it's not to say that the morale is down or they're not receiving everything that they're asking for. This bill does nothing for the police morale.
Well, cops are asking for state control.
But it does something for the POA. It does something for the unions. It allows them to pick who these commissioners are. This is a union bill. This is a rank and file picking who oversees them. Nowhere in management, nowhere in business does this ever happen.
All right, let's talk about the St. Louisans like they're not here.
Okay.
I have a perception, and I admit it could be flawed, but if you and Casey were going to dinner in Kansas City, I'd be like, oh, you have a good time. If she texted me and said, oh, I'm going out to dinner in Washington Avenue, I'd be like, no, hold on. Is that smart? Now, I've seen stats, and I don't really trust the stats anyway. I think they're kind of juiced and stuff. End of the day, whatever happens here, I think the perception of safety is what a site locator needs. It's what a family needs. It's what people need to feel good about St. Louis and see St. Louis grow again, because the state can't grow until St. Louis grows. I think there's a difference in perception. With this bill, can you ever create a perception that St. Louis is safe?
I think that our governor has put forward, more than just one idea too. I think that absolutely you're right. Whenever we look at, I'm going to St. Louis this weekend, and I think about where I stay. I think about where I go, to your point. We want businesses to not feel that way. We want families to not feel that way. And this is a piece, but there are other pieces of the conversation on crime as well, and we need to have all of them.
Here on Super Bowl Sunday, I think there are cities I think of safe and cities I think of as a little dangerous. For whatever reason, my perception of Kansas City is it's safer. I don't know the stats back though. They probably don't. I don't know. But can you ever really convince folks who have thought St. Louis is dangerous for decades it's a safe place to do business?
You know, I think you can. I mean, I lived and worked in St. Louis for a while. I worked on McLeod's Landing, the area that, you know, now you're trying to revitalize. I think there are ways that you can make it improve the perception that that it is safe. I mean, it is part of a marketing piece as well. You know, if you're going to roll out all the other things that the governor put forward on how to address crime, which I think are some really good ideas, then you also have to have the marketing behind it to say, okay, we're safe. Come on, let's open up for business here.
Mike Kehoe, I believe, actually is not doing this for politics. I think this is idiotic politically, taking a problem that's never been solved and thinking you're going to solve it. I actually think he's an honest broker here who truly wants to see something good happen. I think because it makes no political sense to do this, except you think it would be good for the state.
Well, I think it is politically advantageous for him to do something like this because he has to have the mindset of tough on crime also, because you do have a lot of those rural towns that typically are like St. Louis is rogue, and what is being perceived, the perception that is being splashed all over Fox News and the conservative news site.
Person that's not.
I mean, I get that, but he has to ignite those bases.
So you make prison sentences longer. You probably, Jim. I actually think Mike Kehoe. This makes no sense. That the chances he's successful are very slim. I respect him for wanting to do it because I do think it's the most important thing the state could do. I don't see him as using this for politics.
I don't think so either. I think he
politics.
He grew up in St. Louis.
Yeah.
Yes, he did, North Side.
And you know, he loves the state as I do. And I am absolutely with you. If we don't make St. Louis the jewel of this state doesn't grow.
I mean,
and I have stood up I have stood up for you on many occasions with that.
But remember what happened in Kansas City during the Chiefs
and that will happen everywhere. And today it isn't a matter of statistics. You know, Representative Butts, who is one of your colleagues, you know, we were at a forum and they said, what about the crime statistics? Do you believe these are right? And he says, you know, they really don't matter. He says, I've lived in Holly Hills for all my life. He says, the statistics may say crime is down, but I know that I hear gunshots every night. I've never heard those in the 60 years I've lived there, and now I do. So it doesn't matter what those crime statistics feel. If I feel like it's not safe, it's not safe. And the perception right now in St. Louis is it's not safe. The police are saying that, you know, we don't feel that the city has their backs. And you're right, maybe they do, but they don't feel it. We've got to change perceptions, and this is one way to change a little bit.
And I think the rest of the state's going to have to, if you take this police department over, have a different relationship and talk about St. Louis differently.
And we have to make St. Louis the jewel of the state.
Speaking of perception, my perception always was the abortion law that was passed when Roe versus Wade came in with all the triggers probably took abortion policy a little further than your average Missourian wants to go. I think Amendment 3 probably comes the other way. You're working on some sort of a compromise to change and to put on the ballot to change. What's the status of that?
Yeah, we heard that in hearing this week. I think the hearing went really well. One of the things I would say about the hearing is I was really impressed with all the committee members. They had good questions for me, and they were willing to have a good, honest conversation about the issue. I think, you know, from my perspective, I'm looking at this from, you know, talking to people on the doors, having conversations about the issues surrounding Amendment 3 and the things that it puts in place that I think do go too far the other direction. I think it's up to us to have the conversations. That's why we're here as legislators, and that's what we did this week.
What do you think? I mean, it felt to me like the law was further than the public was. It was a very close election. It looks like there's going to be another vote. I'm not sure the law is not a little further the other way. This pendulum's very seldom stop in the middle, right?
Sure, sure. I mean, and it also depends on where you live. You know, in Springfield, in my district, it passed. You know, right now what I'm hearing is, can you just let us have our voice count and just let it be for a little bit? That's what I'm receiving more emails on that piece than anything else. Like, just let our vote and our voice stand for the time being.
What do you think? Yeah, I've always liked talking to you because I've always felt like you see the whole playing field. I do think the law was further than the public was. I'm not sure this one's also not the other way further.
I mean, the heartbeat bill was much further than the public was when it was passed.
Like, that's fair.
So I think that the citizens have put something forth. Let them have this moment. Let them enjoy in actually participating and doing what they want to do in their civic duty and giving them this win. Missourians wanted this win. They went out, they collected signatures, they knocked on doors, they got their bases rallied up. And this is what democracy looks like. And we will be infringing on that by saying, well, we think you got it wrong. Let's put it back to the vote again.
Well, Jim, I think a double helping of democracy here seems like it's going to
Well,
go.
yeah, and frankly, there's things in Amendment 3 that were just absolutely dangerous to women, and you know, if we fix just that, I think it would be fine. But you know, right now that bill was so far the other way,
Yeah.
that we have to do some fixing. So now it's just a
Very
matter
a little frustrating.
where do we find that middle where we can protect women, you know, protect the unborn to what degree we can, and really, I think that should be bipartisan. I mean, protecting women is not a partisan issue to me.
I love your Irish optimism. I see no bipartisanship on abortion ever, but we are going to get kicked off the air bipartisanly. So with a minute left to on the week.
I think my colleague right to my right here, she's done fantastic work this week. She's had at least 3 bills that I know of that
My God.
groundbreaking.
You're making everybody look bad. You're setting a bad curve for the other
She
two.
really is. She really is. But Melanie Stinnett's my winner of the week.
1 week.
I think public administrators in Missouri, we had a hearing this week that gave them a voice to talk about the issues surrounding mental health. They're guardians for many of our constituents, and they do really important work for us.
1 week.
I would have to say St. Louis won the week. I mean, we're still in the battle. We're still fighting. And I think right now we are showing that we can go to the mat with the best of them.
I believe that you can.
Missouri State won the week for me. We had great students in the building. We had all of our leadership available in to see us, and we had a great reception in town just to prove that there is another university in this state that can hold its own.
That's going to be on ESPN this fall.
ESPN this
Like with the new helmet I got. I mean,
new helmet.
I went to SEMO, no SEMO helmet, but Missouri State helmet. I'm going to say, speaking of South Missouri, Lincoln Huff, I think he went on the Senate floor to make sure everybody knew he was still there, and by the end of Wednesday night, I think they knew it. We hope you'll remember we're here next week. Couldn't come join us on This Week in Missouri Politics.
Go Chiefs.
Go Chiefs.
Go Chiefs.
There.
Right.
Yes.
This Week in Missouri Politics is sponsored by the Missouri Automobile Dealers Association, Ameren, Spire, the United Electric Cooperative, and the Missouri Association of Career Fire Protection Districts.